Thanks, Bill. Look, I made a decision a while ago to not be as much of an emphasis on a health piece. I think, we've all been through shit. There'll be a couple of points as I go along that I'll talk about. Because the most important thing that's happened to me here has been here. The lead up to here, just the short lead up to here, and then getting here. So there's a few dates and sort of give you a perspective of the emotional journey for guys like yourself that are going through. Like I've been here since the dawn of time, so it feels like it. As I've said to a few people, when the cooks are adjusting that sauce because they know your favourite flavour. You've been here for a while, So that's the big thing. Anyway, so I got here 13th of October. I got here. Every intent of that was I was new to 4 weeks. That was it. I was gone. So I had no intention of staying here, and doing anything any longer than that. And it was just ticking the boxes. And I was saying to Jen when I was redoing the answers to some of the activities that we've done, I could see that. I was just writing shit. So there wasn't any depth to it. There was no intellectual actual consideration. So that was really where I was at that point. I know there's some silly little points that I put in here, but they're really important because they added up in the end. So things like so the 20th of October, got here 30th. 20th of October, I walked around and helped Mindy choose grass. I know that sounds silly, but just choosing grass for the hill and talking to her about that sort of stuff. It was about someone having a bit of trust in my knowledge. So 30th of October was when Roshi made me fully aware that I was an addicted alcoholic, which was a bit of a shock because I literally looked at it from the outside and I said to her, Roshi was straight up with it. She said, you see yourself as an alcoholic, and I said, realistically, if I was looking at a mate from the outside, I said objectively, if I was looking at a mate who was in that situation, I'd be saying, yeah, you need to do something about your drinking, but inside I'm going, well, don't need to look here, talk about folks, there's nothing here to see, there's no issues, So, it was a real journey. It was going to be a real challenge for me to accept that. That was going to be the biggest thing, and until I accepted that, there was going to be no progress. I was still ticking boxes. So, and then that happened on the 2nd of November. I can't tell you why. 2nd of November, I just went, oh shit, I'm an alcoholic. So, and recognise that in myself. So, and then just this process started. This process of this cascade of things. So on the 5th of November we had Smart Goals, and everyone knows how Smart Goals we go to on a Monday. Went to Smart Goals and I realised I had no idea of my future, no idea of who I wanted to be. And it was really interesting because I realised I had no principles, no courage, no soul. I lost all that, because of different reasons. Anyway, so I knew I needed to really get onto that sort of stuff there. And then on the same day, on the same day, bloody Roshi and her whiteboard marker of revelation hit me on the head, and I go, fucking hell, this is the shit from it. Everything's a shit from it, I've been going through. So, anyway, so I got hit by that marker on the head. That's why I did it on the whiteboard, because the bloody whiteboard in this bloody pen. I think I threatened to sneak down there and steal them all and throw them in the bin, and just the shit and come up with so much. So anyway, and the group shortly thereafter, the 7th of November was the first time I could actually say I was an alcoholic. So we were doing a visualisation one here, and it was the first time I actually said, I was an addicted alcoholic and could admit that, and that was a big thing for me. That took a bit, but when I did, I went, yeah, okay, now it's time. And then that's where I said, no, I'm not staying. I had to stay. I had to sort out some shit that we all had. Anyway, on the 8th of November, so it was the next day, it was just, I ran like couldn't believe it. A few people know I run those, some of the links. And I just ran like I couldn't believe it. Like it was so good. It was so nice just to be out there and felt like I was running. Feel like I was running the day again. And that was magnificent today. And then on the same day, Sam, Sam asked me to help with her massage therapist, anatomy exam, and that was really good to use my knowledge again. So I started to feel like I was getting myself back again. I can't look at this. But I started to feel like I was getting my head back around it and starting to do me again, and that was a really good thing. And I started, so shortly thereafter that, so November, like the night, I started understanding the principles about who I wanted to be and the character that I wanted to be, and really digging down to that. And that was a lot to do with the therapy here, but I was lucky enough to have a book called The 7 Habits for Highly Successful People. And that's, a lot of people look at it and say it's a book that's, talking about being success externally. It's not. It's about going from the inside. It's doing everything from the inside and understanding where you are on the inside and starting from that side. So and that was a big thing. So it just gelled with everything that I was doing here. So on that night, I really started understanding my principles. And then the same night, I found the reflection program that we talked about and discussed, and I really found the value of knowing who I wanted to be, reflecting on that, who I wanted to be, and then looking at my goals that I thought I had in my head from when I was just ticking boxes, and it was way off. But who I wanted to be and where I wanted to be and all that sort of stuff was just shit. It just there was nothing there that had any value to me, and that was great. That was a real eye opener. I went, this is good. I know now that to be the character, my goals have to be in line with the character. Who I have to be has to be in line with those principles and that character that I have to be. And that was when I started doing like the SMART goals. Changed all their format at SMART goals by saying, I can't actually look at it this way. I broke it down into personal, physical, mental, and social, emotional type of goals, and break it down into those, and that's where the change came with that. So, and then on the 10th of November, something really obscure, like and that sounds crazy. It's a piece of wood. I went up and I saw a piece of wood, and I went, oh my God, this is great. I don't know why. It just was something there, And so this bit of wood just spoke to me, and that's how I ended up doing the woodwork project. It was such a good balance. Like I've always been in both worlds, academic worlds, and labour, all that sort of stuff. And I've loved that balance. I won't ever give that up. That's a really important thing to me. So I started working on the woodwork project, and that got infectious. And on the same day, something simple, Nev and Josh asked me for a bit of guidance on some injuries and stuff like that. So I think people were starting to see that I might have known what I was talking about. Maybe I was someone that I could, they could talk to and could get a bit of help with stuff. So so that was a real. Again, it was just this little chips of falling in place and boosting little things along the way that were making me feel much more confident in the journey that I was on, and reinforced the fact that I stayed, reinforced the fact that it was the best decision in my life that I did to stay. And then I'm gonna skip this one. That's part of it. On the 12th of November, it's the first time it's been a historical event, like with Callum, that it haunted. And it haunts me. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we used to call it 2 bags of sugar. And it took 2 bags of sugar and a millisecond to destroy my life all the time, And the act that I did at that time, I was 22, I had no idea the ramifications of that and what it would do. And when I saw the person's blood on the floor at my feet, you know, in the dirt, you know, just, what have I done? You know, what have I done? And the only thing that saved me from that was I would have been able to come home to my kids. If I hadn't done that, you know, that was my job. That was my job, and I would have come home to my kids. I wouldn't have had a family. You know, if I hadn't used 2 bags of sugar, 2 bags of sugar pressure. That's what it is. My parents. So, and ironically, I was struggling that day when I spoke about that, and it's the first time in 6 years that I've guided someone on a full physical rehabilitation process. So Big Daniel that was here, that was bringing prawns, paid in prawns and oysters and all that good stuff there. You know, really helped him, and within a few weeks or a week or so, I really saw the difference in him, and he saw the difference. So I said something simple. We sat down on the rocks when we were at the beach at Cabarita, I think it was, out at Cabarita Point. We'd stop and had a swim after we'd done bike riding, and he could get up, you know, and he couldn't do that before. He couldn't sit his ass down low on his knees and get up. And just to see that in a matter of a week or two was really good. It was really good. So, and then from there onwards, sort of thing, I helped, you know, a lot of guests. I was helping a lot of guests with a lot of rehab, so I was starting to get my feet again and starting to use my brain. And it was like that movie Lucy. I know I'm referring to drugs in here, but the movie Lucy where she has the drugs burst inside her, and you know, her brain comes on and I go, holy shit, this is great, and it was really good. It was really good to have my brain switching on again. You know, I hadn't used it in so long, and I was really finding this talent that I had, this gift that I had, and you know, and I realizing at the same time I was realizing that I was realizing all the stuff that I dragged with me along the way, and just, you know, brought along with me, and it caused me all this grief, and I hadn't addressed it, you know. So I wrote 38 letters, and most people know about the 38 letter syndrome. I wrote 38 letters because we did gratitude and, you know, understanding bits and pieces. And I wrote 38 letters to people that I thought I'd wrong, had done the wrong thing by being in a position and getting myself into that position that I was in. And also for me to get that release to say, well, you know, accept, okay, I've made mistakes. I made some big mistakes there. And there's some truly wonderful people in this world that I'd hurt. And so I sent those letters out. So I sent the letters out. And my mate rang me, he was overseas with me with the military stuff, and he rang me up and he said, oh no, I got a text message, it was a missed call, got a text message, and he said, I'm on my way down, you know, I'm going to get on a plane, you know, I want to come in and talk to you. And he lives in Townsville, and so that reinforced, like, you get a good mate, like, there's something about having a mate that will just do that, you know, there's something about having someone in your life that you know, maybe I'm a better person than I thought, you know. So I rang him up, and the first thing he said, oh, for fuck's sake, I thought you were killing yourself, you know, because a handwritten letter in the mail from an ex-military mate, sort of, you know, gives you a bit of a spook, and he did say, and he put it on the fridge with a magnet, so he can keep going past and reading it. And his son read it, his wife said, he said, oh fuck, his dad killed himself. And so he wasn't too upset, so they went, oh, right, yeah, anyway, but, and so that was really good, because I got feedback from other people as well, not just you know, family, friends, and some people, the people that I generally wronged in that time, and got feedback from them, and their understanding of the journey that I was on was great. So, you know, I'm lucky that I'm going back into an environment that's going to have some understanding people, and some really good people. So, and then on the 21st of November, I ran 6K at 6 km pace, which I haven't done in, couldn't tell you how long it was, from 2019 since I'd run on that pace. So, and then I'd used all the holes on all my belts, so I had to go and get them, walking into the markets, had to make sure that Sue took us to the Kingscliff market so I could get the holes put in the belt, and doing that and getting them sorted out. So I bought the brand new belt like the first week we went there, and then 3 weeks later I had to get new holes in it because it just didn't fit anymore. So that was a good sign. And so by the 24th of November, I'd gone from 100 kilos to 91.9 kilos, so I was pretty happy with that. And the food journey for me, a lot of people will look at saying, oh, you know, why are you doing that? Why are you doing it? But I thought if I can't stick with that and look after myself with that there, how am I going to get outside and be able to stick with much more challenging things? So that was really important for me to do that. And the second part of that then was the exercise. So, you know, doing the exercise and also to me, I said about I'd run to a certain point today, and I did that. You know, it's something about achieving that and doing those sort of things that, you know, that let's give yourself worth, give yourself strength, give you confidence in yourself again there, but also then people understand you can do that, and it's really nice to get that feedback from other people as well. You know, to get that to reinforce that I'm actually not a bad person. So, and 25th. So basically. Yeah, 7 corners, yeah, 91, yeah. So, first time, around the same time as the first time I admitted to Roshi that there were issues that I'd come into the therapy once I decided I was staying. There were some issues that I said I would never speak about. So I hard and fast said, no, I'm not going to talk about it. Never going to mention it again. And I sat in the session with her and I said, these are the things that I wasn't going to say to you, and started talking about them. And you know, they were really major relationship issues that I had and was in. So big things for me. So you know, like basically I walked away from someone that was the one, like she was the one. And because of my own insecurities and my own drama and some pieces, I walked away from that, you know. And basically got drunk for 7 or 8 years. Just found love anywhere I could find it, something there, found someone that would have me as I was. And I found all that thanks to Jenny and the whiteboard section that we had here that day, that same day. Just all happened to coincide on the same day. That one there. So, you know, that was a really good realisation for me. And we had a massive change of personalities here. So at the same time I was going through the bits and stuff in my head and sorting bits and pieces, we had a massive change of group personalities here. And 11th of December I was ready to call a taxi. I got the number, was ready to call the DVO taxi, look at and go, you know what, I can do this, I don't need to be here with all this sort of garbage there. So what was going on in my mind, like I said, the group dynamics had changed, a couple of things had fallen in place, like missed my non-negotiables, which was my morning exercise and my morning meditation. These little things that were starting to give me this great role into the whole day, I'd missed it. So, you know, and I couldn't understand why I missed them, you know. So out of the 4 days, I missed 2 out of the 4 days, which was, you know, ridiculous sort of, you know. So there was all that sort of stuff, and then the ego voice we talk about in some of the sessions there was coming up and saying, look, you know, you don't need to, you're good now, you're good. Go out, you've got the tools, you know, go out and sort it all out, so you don't have to be in this noisy environment. So, you know, and for you to do that, you can go and solve your problems yourself. So I spoke to Ned. I spoke to Michelle, who was here. I spoke to Lee, and Nevin, Michelle said, oh, you're not going to. And I said, look, I'm going to go and just sit for a minute, and in 10 minutes I'm going to ring, and I'm going to pack my room up and I'll go. So, and I just sat for that 10 minutes and just paused and thought about it for a bit. And you know, I was still at that stage, I was still getting a lot out of therapy, a lot out of the bits and pieces with Roshi, a lot out of everyone that was here, you know, a lot out of feedback from everyone else. So I thought, no, I'll give it another day. I thought, I'll just give it one more day and do that. And I went on a run. Went back to my non-negotiables. Went from a run, had a great thought on the run. I thought, you know, I'm looking at this wrong. The people that are coming in my kids' age, they're all my kids' age. You know, maybe I should sit and have a conversation with them and understand that they're my children. They're my children. They're living their life in the realm that my kids are living in at the moment. So if I can understand them, maybe I can understand my kids better as well. So just that whole turnaround of perspective, you know, and that was one of the best things that he did. It was one of the best things there. And got schooled by a 2-year-old in one of the sessions. Literally, and I haven't been spanked by a 2-year-old in a long time. So that was a real eye opener for me there. But what it did was make me think, well, what it did was firstly, you know, I got my back up. And I'm going, well, why do I got my back up? Something there. And it made me think about the comment that I made and the thoughts and the beliefs of where they come from. And they were just shit. They were just shit beliefs that had come from. So you know, I spoke to Tom later, I've getting slapped and said to him, I thank him, you know, because that was another big lesson. All of this, you know, 1 and 2 of the week was this massive lesson that I was getting for reframing things and doing things differently. You know, so it was fantastic. So, and all in this week, like, these things happen, like, you know, conversations with Nick and Lucy, Daniel, Aidan, Ray, Flynn, Nicole and Sandy, all in this 1 week. I had these magnificent sit-down conversations with people that were fantastic and just listening. So I don't think I said a lot, you know, I said things here and there, but just listening to people, I went, you know, this is what it's about. So this is what I'm good at. So, and then shortly after that, so the 17th of December was when I went on my run, and I loved my running because I could go. Sometimes I just let my body run and my head do what it needed to do, you know, do what it got to do. And that was the first time that I went, I don't want to be the David that I was before being an alcoholic, because the David before the alcoholic was broken. Because, you know, there was stuff going on, there was things going on there that just, I couldn't go back to that. If I went back to that, I'd be the same. You know, I'd end up back here, you know, and that wasn't my goal in life then. So looking at my principles and looking at myself, I come back and I've decided to the fact that I want to be David, I want to be the new David. You know, I want to be a David, born again, basically, you know, without the gold stuff and those bits and pieces, but just starting again from a better place and getting rid of all that trauma and understanding all that sort of stuff, but also having all the tools I needed. So, and about the same time, I was given a wonderful gift from 2 great women for helping in the simplest of ways that reinforced that I was a good man. So all I did was something I thought was really nice, was just to help people and learn something they hadn't learned before the schools. So Luce and, you know, to sit down and Valentina and going through that sort of stuff, like, to me that was a simple thing, and that's the things we miss in life. We're missing in life, like we don't get that enough now. We don't get it from anyone as much as we should get it. And that was, to me, was saying, okay, there's nothing wrong with giving this gift. I don't need a reward for it. This was just as rewarding for me as it was for them. So, but seeing their face and seeing their smiles, and seeing what they created was great. You know, so that was a really good thing. And then we get to Christmas Day, and look, it's a Christmas Day, opening the Christmas card, like seeing family and friends and doing bits and pieces there, but the Christmas card, the value of the Christmas card that we all written on was unbelievable. It opened my heart. It didn't break my heart, it just shattered my heart, opened it right up, and I went, you know what, that's fantastic, you know, and that's actually now, so I've already teed up, that's going to be framed, and I'm all wall at home, because that's a really good reminder of when I'm in the right space, when I'm being the character that I want to be, you know, living by those principles, I'm actually really good for the world. So that's really important. And then the 27th of December, I nearly got a hot date with an older chick in Spain. Thanks to somebody's mother.
Oh my God.
I mentioned it.
My father's.
So I won't mention anything. And look, you know, 30th of December, it came back to my running. Like, everything just seemed, when I was feeling better and everything was rolling, but I was coming back to my running, and my running was just a special place, and you know, flying, it's so much easier. So I just ran like 11 Ks. So to put into perspective, when I came in, I couldn't run 4 Ks over, you know, without it getting under 7 minutes, and so now I'm cruising along at 6 minutes, you know, like did 12 and a half this morning, sort of, you know, so and that was cruising, like I just didn't put a foot down at all, just rolling on it, and so I really enjoyed it, and that's really important. Like principles and bits and pieces that I come along with, the very last thing I said to myself, at the end of the day, I want to leave the world being a better place for me. And the alcohol and the time that I turned to really heavy drinking, like I lost that. You know, I lost all that sort of gift and that ability and the confidence to be able to do that again. So this place has really given me that, but also the people and the staff. That's been, you know, magnificent. It's been really good. And learning Vegas, like true Vegas. Yeah. So the idea of the journey my interpretive non-dance. It's like sort of the first picture at the top there is, so it's me drinking. So it's me drinking, and then the day after or whatever, and you see just a dark place, crying, just in a shit of a place. That's sort of arriving at Pinnabar, and it was all shit happening. So, you know, still, the idea, it's all blurry because I didn't have a clear picture of me. I still didn't have a clear picture of me then at that stage. And I got in, I finally had an ear to talk to, that I could trust, you know, and I started talking. But still, what was happening, I was getting some white voices talking some really good advice to me, but I had all the dark voices still in my head, you know, and I wasn't knowing who to listen to, or what to listen to, or what to say, or you know, what to do, you know. Anyway, so then Rossi's white colored marker hit me, and a revelation of the head. And it was the truth. I went, oh yeah, right, so I know what to do now. I know what to do, I know where to start. And that was the biggest thing, finding where to start. What I realised, and that picture looks a bit scribbly and arrowy in bits and pieces, but everything comes from inside you. Everything has to come from inside you. It all has to come from a change inside yourself. And all I had to do was get it from inside, get my hands on the tools to bring it from inside, to get that into my head, and get that back into my head and go, yeah, you know, you're a good person, you've learned all these tools, you've got all these things in your heart, that's being around, and then swing that back around into my heart, swing it back around into the soul. So that's sort of an last picture there, and then that'll be tomorrow. With my, it's not a lunchbox, it's my toolbox. It's my toolbox and heading out the door and ready to go, packed and ready to go with my toolbox. And people have heard me say that saying, I don't want to come back down from this cloud, because I finally found out what I really need. And I was thinking about it just being in here, but I'm not coming down off the cloud. I'm not going to come off the cloud. I'm on a cloud, I've got the tools and I've got all those sort of things there, and I've really found out what I need. I've really figured out the soul of who I want to be, and I'll walk out that door. I don't know what my soul is, and I don't know what my character is, and I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm going to screw up some things here and there, which we all do. So that's going to happen, but I'm prepared for that now. I'm ready for it. So yeah, thank you.